All right, hello everyone, it's silverkyle, and today we're going to be going over all the books that I plan to read in the month of June 2023. And as with any TBR, we'll see how well I did at the very end of the month or maybe the beginning of July. But as of this point in time, this is what I have in mind to read with this exact reading order at the moment. And there's also two other books that I will mention because I do have pre-orders for them for the month of June, and we'll see if, or what, I don't know when one of them came out, but it's apparently supposed to be, I'm supposed to be getting it in a few days because I just made the order now because Indigo was having a sale. So anyway, let's dive into the first book, which I have started. And I already mentioned this in my pickups video that I was close to halfway through. I'm a little bit over halfway through now, and I'm loving this book. I just need some time to really dive into it. What this is a mountain has just randomly showed up in the middle of the ocean a few months ago. And this is set in the 90s. Well, it goes back and forth between current time and the 90s. And it's this mountain that shows up. And what happens is that there's some kind of organization. We don't know if it's government. We don't know if it's military. We don't know which government or military it is, or if it's just individuals or some other organization unaffiliated with any kind of government that gets a bunch of different scientists, a bunch of different scientists in different fields. So there's like a geologist. The main character is a physicist, and they're all trying to figure out what's going on in this mountain as they start at the bottom and slowly ascend their way up. Now, there also has been a first group that has made it either to the top or close to the top. Two have come back from the original group, and two of them are MIA or potentially dead. And the two that have returned are completely different from their personalities and characters that they were before, and are kind of gone crazy and aren't making any sense. I'm just glued to this, loving this. We do also get a few flashbacks of the main character before the 90s, so before he actually ended up going on this mountain trying to figure out what's going on. It's just craziness for what's, I'm loving this, and I just really want to know more about the mystery. And the flashbacks are to humanize us to these characters, to make us, feel for them, which I get, and it is kind of working. So I do appreciate that, but I'm in this for the mystery of the mountain. That's the main draw of this book at the moment. Next up, we have Witch King by Martha Wells. I've heard, I heard a lot of hype as this was coming out, because I guess Martha Wells is known for her Murderbot diaries, which I have not read. That might be something that I do read at some point in time, but now she's doing fantasy because I think Murderbot is sci-fi. And this seems like a one-off, and what it is the main character has been murdered, but his consciousness or spirit or what have you comes back and is trying to figure out what happened, why this character died. I don't even remember if it's a male or female. I think it's Kai, so that's not going to help me either. Okay, so it's a dude. He's trying to figure out how he got murdered, and what this person is doing to try to use his wizardly powers, because I believe that he is a wizard himself. And it seems interesting, but mainly it's for the hype that I was hearing for it, although now I'm starting to get reviews of it and it's kind of died down a little bit. So I'm still curious to see where this book is going to go, and I do want some fantasy as well, as that is my favorite genre. Next up is a book that I've been just postponing and postponing and postponing. I mean, I started it, but I'm just at the very beginning. That is Red Rising, book 1 of this series. I will not have the entire series done because there's 5 books. Well, there's a trilogy, and then there's a new trilogy, and the sixth book or the third book in the second trilogy is coming out at the end of July, I believe. And there's no way that I'll have all 5 books done before this if I'm having a hard time with book 1. But I'd like to have this done by the end of June, so I could start the second one in July and just slowly get through them. Maybe at that point I'll be interested and invested that I'll want to keep going and maybe read 2 of them per month or something like that. That would be awesome. So those are the 3 books that I really do plan on finishing this month, and I hope to start, not necessarily finish, because these to me are slow burns. It's not going to make a lot of sense for a lot of people, but I feel like I can't necessarily binge through this author, and that is The Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers. So I recently reread The Hobbit last year, as well as Fellowship of the Ring, and now I'm going to be rereading Two Towers since I was 14. That's the last time that I read it, once when I was 14, and that's it. So I'm really excited because I really did enjoy Fellowship of the Ring. Hobbit was a little bit of a letdown because I thought I appreciated that more before when I was younger, but it's probably because of my age at the time. I was 13 when I read The Hobbit the first time, and when I was 14 I was reading Lord of the Rings, and I think that my reading skills weren't as honed back then, because I more enjoyed like Harry Potter, and then eventually like a year or two after that I started Wheel of Time, and at that time that was more my cup of tea because it was more modern, and that's the only reason why I enjoyed it so much. Now I absolutely love the writing style of Tolkien. I appreciate it so much more, and that's why I would like to start this. But it's still, because the writing style is a little bit different and it's not action heavy. It which isn't it's hard because sometimes if the action is boring, I don't really care about the action, and sometimes I just really want to read what the characters are saying, what the characters are thinking, the lore of the world building, that kind of stuff, which Tolkien is the grandmaster of everything. But I wish that there was a little bit more action. That's my only real complaint from. I got a review. I reviewed The Hobbit, but I did not review Fellowship of the Ring, so I'm going to have to do that as well, coming soon. And I would like to do that before I dive into Two Towers, so that I'm not mixing them up. Anyway, let's dive into the last two books here before we talk about what I have pre-ordered and on the way. I started the Pentagon Spy, the Hardy Boys number 61. These are extremely short, meant for like 8 to 10-year-old kids, I feel, but I absolutely love them because my father read them, so they're still fun to me. And the last one that I might start, because I feel like a lot of this is sci-fi and fantasy, which I absolutely love, but I feel I want to have some kind of mystery thriller thrown in there. And I was debating on what I wanted to read, but I think that this would be the next one. And as All the Dangerous Things, that came out earlier in the year. I think this came out back in January, and I picked it up early enough to maybe in February or something like that. I don't even remember what this is about, so I'm not going to read it at the back here, but I do want to read this. I also have seen Stacey Willingham's name before. A Flicker in the Dark was something that I was looking at potentially getting last year, but I just never got around to buying it. So definitely looking forward to taking a look at that and seeing how that goes. Now, the other two books that I do have on this book, I think it's weird. It says that it's going to come out on August 2nd, but it's being shipped because then they're saying that I'll get it, or that it'll be delivered by June 9th. And I literally just put the order on June 4th today here. And that is Dragons of Deceit, Dragonlance Destinies Volume 1. I thought Dragonlance was an essentially dead IP for the last little while, and Forgotten Realms was really the main thing. But Dragonlance is coming back, and I remember reading the first book, and I think what started the Dragonlance series. It was part of a trilogy. I don't remember the name of it, but this was like years ago when I was reading Forgotten Realms. So like 20 years ago-ish, something like that. Maybe a few years after that. And I enjoyed it. I don't remember much about it other than there was two brothers, and I think one of them was a wizard, and he was interesting. And I think that they were all living in the trees. Like, there was this really incredible world where they did not go down on the surface. They all lived in trees, and there was these big intertwining bridges and hallways that brought all the cities together, that were all in the trees. I think that that's what it was. I could be wrong, but that's what my mind was thinking of when I saw the name Dragonlance. I was like, oh, Dragonlance is coming back. I want to read more fantasy. I want to read current fantasy. Maybe not the exact place I should start, but I remembered enjoying it back then. So I got this, and then the sequel, Volume 2, is also supposed to come out. That one looks like it actually is coming out in August. I don't know. It's interesting. So definitely looking forward to taking a dive into Dragonlance. I don't know if I should probably read more Dragonlance beforehand. It's a gamble I'm willing to take. If somebody knows, let me know in the comments below, and I'll hold off if I need to read something before I dive into this. Next up, and the last book that is going to be coming out, and that is supposed to be coming out, well, delivered by June 26th, so at the end of June, and that is 0 Days, and I don't even remember who wrote that. I feel like it was an author that I've seen before. I love the cover. It was like this, a very plain cover, but the colors just kind of popped, and we're doing some, it looked like holographic kind of, and it might actually be when I get it. So that, I mean, I'm down for that. But I think there was more to it, and it was an author that I had seen before and books that I had seen before that looked interesting. Some kind of thriller, I believe. It might have to do with a podcast. I don't remember. That might. I ordered a bunch of books, so they're all kind of intertwining here. But I'm definitely looking forward to it. So that's everything. That's it. Okay, so that's 8 books that I potentially have planned for June. I don't think that's going to happen. I do think I will definitely finish Ascension, because I'm reading that right as soon as I'm done talking here. I might even start The Witch King tonight, or I might start even All the Dangerous Things. I know that this is kind of like my throw in here, but I'm kind of in the mood for a thriller at the same time, and I do like reading 2 books or a few books at the same point in time. So I definitely do believe Ascension, Witch King will be done, hopefully Red Rising, if not All the Dangerous Things. Two Towers gets started, and hopefully either the Dragonlance book or 0 Days as well. That's quite a big month here if I get all of that accomplished, and then the other ones could be pushed back until next month or something. But either way, that's what I plan to read in the month of June. Let me know in the comments below what you're planning to read in June, and yeah, well, I'll talk to you all next time. You've been bearded in. Beardage.